He thought of Clara, of Angela, of Matthew, and now Jacob. He thought of the mansion Mama Vision was building and the new branch she was planning to open. She was spreading her influence, growing her empire, and ruining lives in the process. Victor knew he had to act. He needed more proof, more allies, and a plan. The truth was there just beneath the surface. It was time to bring it into the light. Victor had seen enough to know that Mama Vision's prophecy were designed to destroy lives, but nothing prepared him for the conversation he had with Jacob. He had known Jacob and his mother for a long time and knew that his mother could not possibly be a witch. He knew he had to do something about the seed of doubt already planted in his heart. After another prayer session, Jacob sat alone near the edge of the prayer house, staring blankly at the ground. His normally cheerful face was pale and lined with worry. Victor approached cautiously, sitting down beside him. "Jacob," he said gently, "I need to talk to you." Jacob looked up, his eyes red and tired. "What is it, Victor?" Victor hesitated, then spoke. "I don't think what Mama Vision said about your mother is true." Jacob's expression hardened immediately. "How can you say that? She's a prophetess. She knows things no one else can." Victor shook his head. "But have you ever seen anything that would make you think your mother is involved in witchcraft? Has she ever done anything strange?" Jacob's jaw tightened. "No, but that doesn't mean anything. Mama Vision said the curse is spiritual, something I can't see. She's the one with the divine insight, not me." Victor sighed, realizing he wasn't getting through. "Jacob, your mother raised you. She loves you. Don't you think you should talk to her before making any decisions?" Jacob stood abrupt, while his hands clenched into fists. "You don't understand, Victor. Mama Vision said I needed to separate myself from her. If I don't, my life will never get better." Victor watched helplessly as Jacob walked away, his heart heavy. He knew Jacob's relationship with his mother was hanging by a thread, and Mama Vision's lies had made it even was determined to uncover the truth. Victor decided to visit Jacob's mother, a frail widow who lived in a small hut on the outskirts of the village. When she opened the door, her face lit up with a warm smile. "Victor, it's been a long time. What brings you here?" Victor hesitated, unsure how to begin. "Mama, I wanted to talk to you about Jacob. He hasn't been himself lately." Her smile faded, and she gestured for him to sit. "I know," she said softly. "He hasn't come to see me in weeks. He doesn't answer my calls. I don't know what I've done to make him so distant." Victor's chest tightened. "The famous prophetess Mama Vision told him that you're a witch, that you're the reason for his struggles." The woman gasped, her hand flying to her chest. "What, me, a witch?" "Victor, the first. I've never done anything like that in my life. I don't even know how to think about such things. Jacob is my only child. I've raised him alone since his father died. Why would I want to harm him?" Tears filled her eyes, and Victor felt a pang of guilt for even bringing it up. "I'm sorry, Mama," he said. "I don't believe it either. That's why I'm here. I needed to hear it from you." She wiped her eyes and shook her head. "I don't understand how anyone could say such things. All I've ever wanted is for Jacob to be happy. If he believes this lie, it will break my heart." Victor left her home deeply moved. Mama Vision's lies weren't just breaking marriages, they were tearing apart families in ways that left scars too deep to heal. He decided to dig deeper, no matter the cost. Meanwhile, Mama Vision continued her double life. By day she was the revered prophetess, delivering sermons, selling her blessed items, and staging miraculous healings. Her fame was growing, especially with the opening of her second prayer house in the nearby town. But by night she returned to the river, where her occult practices took on a sinister form, chanting in ancient languages, calling on dark forces, and meeting with others who seemed to share her powers. These nocturnal meetings were part of the pact she had made with the Marine Kingdom to maintain her influence and wealth. She needed to renew her allegiance regularly, and while she played the role of the benevolent leader in public, her real purpose was far more sinister: to see discord, exploit faith, and enrich herself at the expense of her followers. One evening after a prayer session, Victor was leaving the prayer house and he decided to approach his wife. He had seen her multiple times in the congregation, but she seemed to be avoiding him, so he decided to let her be. But today he would confront her. "Clara," he called, hurrying toward her. For a moment she looked surprised, but her expression quickly turned cold. "What do you want, Victor?" she said sharply. "I just want to talk," he said, his voice pleading. "I miss you." "Do you mean our marriage has ended just like that? I thought you just needed some time." Clara shook her head. "Mama Vision warned me about this. She said you tried to manipulate me, that you'd say anything to get me back. I've been told to stay away from you, and I intend to listen." Victor's heart sank. "Clara, she's lying to you. She's not who she says she is. I've seen things you Wouldn't believe Clara took a step back, her voice rising. You don't know what you're talking about. Mama Vision is the only one who understands what I'm going through, she said. You're holding me back and now I see it's true. Victor watched helplessly as she turned and walked away, her words cutting deeper than any wound. He felt an overwhelming sense of loss, not just for Clara but for the life they had shared. And in that moment he knew he couldn't sit idly by any longer. He needed to take drastic action. That night Victor sat in his small room, staring at the wall. As his mind raced, he thought about Jacob's mother, about Angela and Matthew, about Clara. He thought about the countless lives Mama Vision was destroying, all while building her empire. I have to stop her, he whispered to himself, but I need proof. The next day Victor ordered a small recording device online. He knew it was risky, but it was the only way to expose Mama Vision. If he could capture her lies, her manipulations, he could bring the truth to light. When the device arrived, Victor wasted no time. He arranged for a private session with Mama Vision, claiming he needed her help with a personal problem. As he prepared for the meeting, he felt a mix of fear and determination. This was his chance to uncover the truth, but it could also put him in danger. Victor slipped the recording device into his pocket and took a deep breath. It was time to face Mama Vision. Victor arrived at the House of Divine Intervention for his private session with Mama Vision. His small allegiance regularly, and while she played the role of the benevolent leader in public, her real purpose was far more sinister: to see discord, exploit faith, and enrich herself at the expense of her followers. One evening after a prayer session, Victor was leaving the prayer house and he decided to approach his wife. He had seen her multiple times in the congregation, but she seemed to be avoiding him, so he decided to let her be. But today he would confront her. Clara, he called, hurrying toward her. For a moment she looked surprised, but her expression quickly turned cold. What do you want, Victor? She said sharply. I just want to talk, he said, his voice pleading. I miss you. Do you mean our marriage has ended just like that? I thought you just needed some time. Clara shook her head. Mama Vision warned me about this. She said you tried to manipulate me, that you'd say anything to get me back. I've been told to stay away from you, and I intend to listen. Victor's heart sank. Clara, she's lying to you. She's not who she says she is. I've seen things you wouldn't believe. Clara took a step back, her voice rising. You don't know what you're talking about. Mama Vision is the only one who understands what I'm going through, she said. You're holding me back and now I see it's true. Victor watched helplessly as she turned and walked away, her words cutting deeper than any wound. He felt an overwhelming sense of loss, not just for Clara but for the life they had shared. And in that moment he knew he couldn't sit idly by any longer. He needed to take drastic action. That night Victor sat in his small room, staring at the wall. As his mind raced, he thought about Jacob's mother, about Angela and Matthew, about Clara. He thought about the countless lives Mama Vision was destroying, all while building her empire. I have to stop her, he whispered to himself, but I need proof. The next day Victor ordered a small recording device online. He knew it was risky, but it was the only way to expose Mama Vision. If he could capture her lies, her manipulations, he could bring the truth to light. When the device arrived, Victor wasted no time. He arranged for a private session with Mama Vision, claiming he needed her help with a personal problem. As he prepared for the meeting, he felt a mix of fear and determination. This was his chance to uncover the truth, but it could also put him in danger. Victor slipped the recording device into his pocket and took a deep breath. It was time to face Mama Vision. Victor arrived at the House of Divine Intervention for his private session with Mama Vision. His small recording device tucked securely in his pocket. He had spent the night preparing, knowing this was his best chance to gather evidence. If he could plant the device in her office, it might capture the conversations and secrets he needed to expose her. Mama Vision welcomed him into her office, her piercing eyes scanning him intently. Victor immediately felt a strange chill in the room. It wasn't just her commanding presence. It was something deeper, something unsettling. She gestured for him to sit. Young man, she said, her voice steady but sharp. What is it that troubles you? Victor forced a smile. Mama, I need your help. My life feels stuck, like there's something blocking me. I came to seek your guidance. Mama Vision nodded slowly, but her expression didn't soften. Instead, her eyes narrowed and a knowing smile appeared on her lips. You've been restless, haven't you? She said, wondering, searching for answers. But tell me, Victor, are you sure you're looking in the right places? Victor swallowed hard. I don't understand. Mama Vision leaned forward, her voice dropping to a near Whisper, I see more than you think. Be careful, Victor, you're walking a dangerous path. If you value your life, tread lightly. The words sent a chill down Victor's spine. Her tone wasn't a threat, it was a warning. She knew, somehow she knew, he had ulterior motives. The longer the session went on, the more Victor felt the weight of her gaze, as though she was studying him, peeling back layers of his thoughts. When she left the room briefly, he seized his chance quickly. He placed the recording device under her desk, hidden behind a stack of papers. By the time she returned, Victor was already standing ready to leave. Thank you, Mama, he said, forcing a polite tone. I feel lighter already. Mama Vision didn't smile. Her eyes lingered on him as she said, go with faith, my son, but remember my words, some battles are not meant to be fought. Victor left the prayer house, his heart racing. He had managed to plant the device, but her warning echoed in his mind. How much did she know that night Victor's sleep was plagued with strange dreams? He found himself standing in a dark, endless void, surrounded by whispers that seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. Shadowy figures loomed around him, their eyes glowing, their voices mocking. Why are you here? One voice hissed. You cannot win. Another voice, deeper and more menacing, spoke directly into his mind. You will lose everything. Victor woke in a cold sweat, his heart pounding. The dreams felt too real, too vivid. Over the next few nights, they only grew worse. He dreamed of vultures circling overhead, of water rising around him, pulling him under each time he woke, gasping for air, fear clawing at his chest. One night, after waking from another nightmare, Victor fell to his knees. Tears streamed down his face as he prayed aloud, God, I don't know what's happening. I can't do this alone. Please take control. Show me what to do. The next morning, Victor felt a small sense of peace he hadn't felt in weeks. The nightmares hadn't broken him. They had reminded him of where his true strength lay. He knew he couldn't fight this battle alone, and he decided it was time to confide in someone he trusted. Victor reached out to his old friend Ezekiel, a former pastor who had left ministry years ago after seeing too much corruption in the church. Ezekiel was sharp, level-headed, and fiercely detective of the truth. If anyone could help him, it was Ezekiel. Victor met Ezekiel in a quiet corner of a cafe, explaining everything he had seen and heard, the fake miracles, the financial exploitation. Ezekiel listened carefully, his face growing grimmer with each word. When Victor finished, Ezekiel nodded. You were right to come to me, he said. This is bigger than you, Victor. It's spiritual warfare. If you're going to expose her, you need to be prepared, not just physically, but spiritually. Victor felt a surge of relief. For the first time in weeks, he didn't feel completely alone. Together, he and Ezekiel began to plan their next steps, starting with analyzing the recording Victor had made that evening. Victor and Ezekiel played back the recording, their faces growing darker with every word. Mama Vision and Agnes discussed the expansion of the ministry, targeting wealthy families with stage miracles and fear-based prophecies. They revealed plans to open branches in 3 additional towns, each designed to draw in more offerings. Manipulative tools, the so-called blessed items, holy water and salt, were directly tied to Mama Vision's occult practices. Agnes laughed about a member who believed the salt had saved her home. It's just regular salt, she said, but fear makes them believe anything. Mama Vision spoke openly about the offerings, boasting about the wealth they were accumulating. They'll give anything if you make them think it's for their salvation, she said. Then came the chilling part. The Marine Queen is growing impatient, she said. She wants more sacrifices, more loyalty. If we fail, we lose everything. Victor sat in stunned silence as the recording ended. Mama Vision wasn't just a fraud, she was deeply entangled in something dark and dangerous. He thought of her warning, the nightmares and the lives she was destroying. He couldn't let it continue. We need more, Ezekiel said. We need to see her practices firsthand. Victor nodded. I'll follow her tonight, he said. I need to see it with my own eyes. That night, Victor positioned himself near the riverbank, hidden among the trees. As midnight approached, he saw Mama Vision and Agnes arrive. They carried a bundle wrapped in cloth, chanting in low guttural voices. Victor watched in horror as Mama Vision began to transform, her arms becoming wings, her body covered in dark feathers. With a piercing cry, she disappeared beneath the water, leaving Victor frozen in place. He had seen enough to know one thing: this wasn't just deception, it was evil. Victor returned home, his heart heavy, but his resolve stronger than ever. He knew what he had to do. It was time to expose Mama Vision once and for all. Victor and Ezekiel spent the following weeks meticulously gathering evidence against Mama Vision. They knew the task was dangerous, but their resolve to expose her deception outweighed their fear. They prayed fervently each day, asking for strength and divine guidance. In their mission, God Victor prayed one evening, we can't do this on our own, lead us, protect us, and let the truth set these people free. Armed with recording devices and hidden cameras, they began attending her sessions regularly, documenting every staged miracle, manipulative prophecy, and financial exploitation. Staged miracles. They captured footage of Mama Vision's aides paying actors to pose as sick or disabled people only to miraculously heal them during the service. Victor recorded Mama Vision's nocturnal rituals near the river, including her transformations into a vulture-like creature and her eerie chants to the Marine Queen. The recordings showed her speaking in an unrecognizable language and offering items as sacrifices using a concealed microphone. They documented Mama Vision falsely accusing people's loved ones of being witches. One recording revealed her coaching a follower to sever ties with their family. Distance yourself from them, or their curses will destroy you. The evidence was there in every piece, painted a clear picture of deception, greed, and spiritual manipulation. Once they had enough evidence, Victor and Ezekiel decided to take the next step. They compiled the recordings, photographs, and testimonies into a comprehensive report to protect their identities. They anonymously leaked the story to several local media outlets. The first headline appeared within days, exposing Mama Vision, false prophecies, and occult practices behind the prayer house empire. The story spread like wildfire. News anchors discussed the shocking revelations, showing clips of staged miracles and Yuan-Ti rituals. Social media erupted with outrage as people shared their experiences and disbelief. The media coverage sent shockwaves through the community. Many of Mama Vision's followers were devastated. They had believed in her completely, sacrificing their money, relationships, and trust in others because of her prophecies. Women who had abandoned their husbands wept as they realized they had been manipulated. Angela, who had left her husband Matthew, was one of many who reached out to reconcile, apologizing for believing Mama Vision's lies. Jacob and so many others who had severed ties with his mother broke down in tears when he saw the footage. He immediately visited her, begging for forgiveness. I'm so sorry, Mama, he sobbed. I was blinded by her lies. Many realized they had been coerced into giving up their savings, land, and possessions for false promises of blessings. They felt betrayed, angry, and lost. The exodus from the prayer house was swift. Attendance dwindled as followers abandoned Mama Vision. The once packed sessions became ghostly gatherings with only a handful of loyalists remaining. The authorities launched an investigation into Mama Vision's activities. The evidence Victor and Ezekiel provided exposed financial fraud, illegal practices, and emotional abuse. Mama Vision, alongside her trusted aide Agnes, faced charges for misappropriation of funds, deception, and exploiting vulnerable individuals. Her occult practice and the sacrifice of her husband were also exposed. As that was the beginning of it all, her empire crumbled. The second prayer house she had opened was shut down, and the mansion she was building was seized. The Marine Queen, whom Mama Vision had served for years, offered no reprieve without the offering and followers to sustain her power. Her connection to the occult kingdom began to need, leaving her isolated and vulnerable throughout the ordeal. Victor and Ezekiel never wavered in their faith. They prayed daily, asking God to protect those who had been hurt and to guide them in helping others rebuild their lives. Victor too found strength in prayer. Though he had lost much, including his marriage to Clara, he felt peace knowing he had done what was right. As the dust settled, the community began to heal. Victor and Ezekiel worked quietly to support those who had been affected, encouraging them to seek reconciliation and forgiveness. Victor stood at the edge of the river one evening, watching the water flow peacefully. He thought of the battle he had fought and the lives that had been touched. God, he whispered, thank you for giving me the strength to do this. I know there's still more to be done, but I trust you to lead the way. Mama Vision, once a powerful and feared figure, now sat alone. Her influence was gone and her empire was dismantled. The voices that had once guided her from the Marine Kingdom were silent, leaving her to confront the cost of her choices. She had sacrificed everything, her humanity, her family, and her soul for power, only to lose it all. Victor, who had lost Clara to Mama Vision's influence, watched silently as other families reunited. He learned that Clara had moved to the neighboring town after Mama Vision's secret got exposed. Without a word to him, he thought maybe she felt too ashamed to face him. Though his marriage had not survived, he found solace in the knowledge that his actions had helped others find the truth. He immersed himself in community work, helping those still grappling with the aftermath of the lies they had believed. Among the many victims was Naomi, a widow who had given nearly everything to Mama Vision in hopes of finding peace and blessings for months. She had lived in regret, mourning the life savings she had lost and the friendship she had severed on Mama Vision's advice, but Naomi refused to let bitterness consume her. She began organizing small gatherings in her home, inviting others to share their stories and find solace in each other's company. Through these meetings, Naomi found a renewed purpose, spreading awareness about spiritual manipulation and helping others rediscover their faith. God's word is our anchor, she often said, not the words of people, no matter how convincing they may sound. If we want to know him, we must read his word ourselves. Her gatherings grew over time, becoming a source of hope and encouragement for many who had been hurt by Mama Vision's deceptions. Victor, reflecting on the journey that had brought him to this moment, spoke during one of Naomi's gatherings. His voice was steady, but his words carried the weight of his experience. We've learned a hard lesson, he said. Not everyone who claims to speak for God is telling the truth. The Bible once test every spirit to see whether it is from God. We didn't do that. We trusted blindly, and we paid the price. He paused, looking at the faces around him. But we can't let this break us. God is still good. His word is still true. If there's one thing we've learned, it's that we must know God for ourselves, not through someone else, not through rituals or objects, but through his word. Read the Bible, pray with a sincere heart, seek him, and he will reveal himself to you. The room was silent, the weight of his word settling over the group. For many it was a moment of clarity, a call to take responsibility for their faith and their relationship with God. As time passed, the community began to heal. The scars of Mama Vision's deception remained, but so did the lessons learned. Families rebuilt their bonds, individuals rediscovered their faith. Victor and Ezekiel continued their work, quietly supporting those who needed help. Though the journey had been painful, they were grateful for the chance to bring truth to light and to remind people of God's ultimate authority. Faith, Victor often said, isn't about miracle or signs, it's about trusting in the one who holds all power and knowing that his love is enough. Thanks for watching. God bless you all.